Japan is home to more than 90,000 people over the age of 100, giving it the world's highest concentration of centenarians. Meanwhile, in the United States, we pour billions into gym membership supplements and the latest fitness apps, yet, after 50 many still face rising rates of chronic illness, aching joints, and slipping cognition. So, what exactly sets the Japanese apart? It isn't only about sushi or green tea, and it isn't simply good genetics. When researchers from Harvard Medical School and Stanford examined Japan's longest living adults, some well past 100 still mentally sharp, steady on their feet, and living independently, they uncovered a surprising pattern. Diet and conventional workouts weren't the decisive factors. The real difference lay in 6 humble daily movements, so understated that Western clinicians once waved them off as trivial until brain imaging balance assessments and joint evaluations told another story. Here's the twist. One of these movements practiced for just 2 minutes a day was associated with adding 7 years to lifespan. If you're 50 or older, and noticing stiffer knees, slower reaction time, or creeping brain fog, keep reading. You're about to learn 6 time-tested movement habits that may help you age the Japanese way, with clarity, stability, and strength, no pills, no equipment, and no sweat required. Before we dive in, drop your name and where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Number 1, the towel twist, a 2-minute reset that rewires your body. At first glance, it seems almost trivial. You pick up a towel and twist nothing fancy. Yet in Japan, this daily practice known as tenugui hibiki is often named by centenarians as their top strategy for staying strong, focused, and mobile well into their 90s. Here's the method. Raise a towel to shoulder height. With arms extended, apply a gentle outward pull as if you were trying to rip it. Then rotate your torso slowly to one side while keeping the hips square. Hold for 3 seconds, return to center and rotate to the opposite side, maintaining that outward tension the entire time. The continuous pull recruits deep stabilizers that typical workouts barely engage. Neuroimaging studies show this pattern lights up both hemispheres at once, sharpening coordination, memory, and reaction speed. Now, the outcomes over a 20-year follow-up of 15,000 older adults in Japan. Those who practiced the towel twist for just 2 minutes a day lived an average of 7 years longer. Their grip strength stayed above the threshold for independent living into their 90s, and their bone density is measured closer to people 20 years younger. Practical tip: perform the sequence right after waking and again before bedtime. You'll bookend the day with activation and recovery, soothing the nervous system while priming the brain. No gym and no fuss, just you. A towel and 2 focused minutes that can make a profound difference. Number 2, floor sitting transitions your daily longevity check. In Japan, spending time on the floor is ordinary life meals, tea television, and that means standing down on the floor and back up many times a day. What many Westerners overlook is that this simple act of lowering and rising may be one of the clearest indicators of how well you're aging. A large-scale investigation from the University of Tsukuba tracked more than 10,000 older adults and found that those who could sit on the floor and return to standing without using their hands showed markedly stronger, lower body power, greater joint mobility, better cognitive performance, and most striking, a lower risk of death over the following 6 years. Why is this so powerful? The movement isn't only muscular, it is also neurological. The transition challenges coordination, core control, spatial awareness, and motor planning capacities that tend to fade quietly after 50. The good news: practicing the skill can help slow and even reverse that decline. Here's a practical way to begin. Ease yourself into a kneeling position with the support of a chair or low stool. From there, practice rising back to standing using assistance as needed. Just 2 to 3 repetitions per day can gradually build noticeable strength and confidence. Tip: work on a yoga mat or carpet to reduce pressure on the joints. This isn't a flexibility contest. It's about safeguarding independence, because the day getting up from the floor becomes impossible is the day daily life stops feeling like it's yours. Number 3, single leg standing balance that builds the brain. In Japan, physicians don't only write prescriptions, they also recommend a simple drill stand on one leg for 1 minute twice a day. It may sound trivial, but the data tells a different story. A 15-year investigation from Fukuoka University that tracked 12,000 older adults found that daily single-leg standing correlated with 68% fewer hip fractures, 75% fewer hospitalizations from falls, and greater gray matter volume in brain regions governing balance and coordination. What's happening under the hood? When you balance on one foot, your body fires off hundreds of micro corrections each minute, engaging the ankles, hips, core, and the vestibular system of the inner ear. Your brain responds to increasing activity as it stabilizes posture and orientation. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic even suggest that one-leg balance performance predicts longevity better than cholesterol or blood pressure. Here's a safe way to begin: stand beside a wall or sturdy counter. Lift one foot just 1 to 2 inches from the floor, fix your gaze on a steady point, and breathe normally. Aim for 20 to 30 seconds per side if that feels comfortable. Progress by closing your eyes or standing on a folded towel to introduce gentle instability. Many Japanese seniors pair this with a daily routine, such as brushing their teeth, turning a basic habit into a built-in longevity practice. Tip: as your control improves, add slow head turns or deliberate arm movements. These variations push your nervous system to adapt in real time, boosting neuroplasticity. In a single mindful minute, you're training both body and brain. And if time is your excuse, remember, you already brush twice a day. Use those moments to help future-proof your balance and cognition. Number 4, deep squat, rest the lost human posture. Stroll through a Tokyo park, and you may notice something striking: men and women in their 70s and 80s, relaxing in a deep squat, heels planted spine, tall, chatting with friends, reading, even tending a bonsai. Now compare that to the United States, where many people over 50 can't maintain a deep squat for more than 10 seconds if they can get there at all. The issue isn't only tight muscles. It's a posture we abandoned for one simple reason: chairs. In Japan, floor sitting and squatting aren't workouts, they're everyday living. That's exactly why they're so potent. A 12-year study following more than 5,000 older adults found that those able to hold a deep squat for at least 2 minutes had a 70% lower likelihood of requiring assisted living. Their hips stayed supple, knees resilient, and independence intact. From a biomechanical viewpoint, deep squatting takes the hips through their full range of motion, strengthens the pelvic floor, vital for bladder control, gently decompresses the spine, preserves ankle mobility, and nourishes the joints. Getting started is simple practice near a wall or sturdy chair for support. If your heels lift, slide a small rolled towel beneath them. Aim for 20 to 30 seconds at a time, a few sessions per day, and build gradually. This is far more than a stretch. It's your body relearning how it was meant to rest, restore, and realign without leaving the ground. Regain this posture, and you may never look at sitting the same way again. Number 5, radio taiso, the 3-minute morning ritual that gets an entire country moving. At precisely 6:30 a.m., a gentle piano tune drifts across Japan's national airwaves. It isn't a news bulletin or weather update. It's the cue for millions, from school kids to office workers to grandparents, to rise and move together. This practice is radio taiso, a smooth 3-minute sequence of 13 light coordinated stretches, first introduced in 1928 and still woven into daily life today. Don't think of it as a hard workout. There's no sweating, no planks, no downward dog. Instead, the routine flows continuously: arm circles to the front, forward bends, side reaches, and easy knee lifts, graceful rhythmic motions, almost like Tai Chi with an easy smile. In a study including more than 8,000 older adults, daily radio taiso was linked with 40% fewer falls, a 55% reduction in chronic back pain, and preserved hip and shoulder range of motion well into the 8th decade. Why does it help so much? These gentle repetitions oil the joints by stimulating synovial fluid, the body's natural lubricant. Without that circulation, stiffness creeps in quickly after 50. And the commitment is tiny. The full routine lasts just 3 minutes and 15 seconds. You can do it barefoot in pajamas right in the kitchen, no gear required. Pro tip: perform it immediately upon waking when natural growth hormone levels are highest and muscles respond most readily. It's more than stretching. It's daily renewal carried out one breath and one simple movement at a time. Number 6, the art of slow walking known as Sampo. Set aside the usual idea of walking for exercise. This isn't power strides, playlists, or chasing calorie counts. Sampo is a calm, mindful practice embraced by many older adults in Japan each morning, and it may be one of the most overlooked health rituals in today's medical world. In Sampo, you move at roughly half your normal pace. There is no rushing or pavement pounding, only a gentle, intentional cadence paired with a simple breath. Rhythm: inhale over 2 steps, pause for 2 steps, exhale over 4 steps. That's the entire method. The impact, however, can be profound. Coordinating steps with breath helps align cardiovascular and nervous system activity, sharpens mental clarity, reduces blood pressure, and steadies balance by awakening deep, stabilizing muscles. A decade-long investigation from Kyoto University reported that older adults who practice Sampo daily showed 62% lower arterial stiffness and carried themselves with the smooth, efficient gait of people 2 decades younger. The reason is deceptively simple: moving, slowly, truly slowly, lets each foot fully articulate with the ground. The step rolls from heel to arch to toe, bringing all 33 joints of each foot into play. Those rich sensory signals retrain balance pathways in the brain, including regions that tend to decline with age. You won't see this featured in a typical gym routine, and you won't break a sweat. Yet, after several weeks, many people describe feeling more centered, calmer, and physically secure. A practical way to begin is with 10 minutes on natural surfaces such as grass or packed dirt. Sidewalks are fine, but gentle, irregular terrain recruits more muscles. Remember, this is more than a stroll. It is a daily tune-up for body and mind that countless Japanese use to start the day, and you can adopt it too. Begin exactly where you are if you're managing joint discomfort, unsteady balance, old injuries, or years of inactivity. Take a breath. You're not behind. You're beginning. And that's what counts. These practices aren't about flawless form. They're about showing up with consistency and purpose. Keep these safety notes in mind. Work near a wall, countertop, or solid chair so you have support. Start with the standing options first, such as Sampo or the towel twist. For deep squats or getting down to and up from the floor, add cushions or props until your body adjusts. Above all, pay attention to your signals. Pain isn't progress. If you have specific issues, consult your doctor or a physical therapist. Aging well isn't about grinding harder. It's about moving wisely day after day. You don't have to relocate to Japan to age the way many Japanese do. You just need to move with intention. What you've seen today isn't a fitness program, a passing fad, or a promise to reverse time. It's a return to the natural patterns of human movement we gradually abandon in a life of chairs, screens, and constant convenience. These 6 practices fit into less than 15 minutes a day. They don't demand sweat willpower or pricey gear. What they do ask for is a shift in mindset, from battling age to working with it intelligently. Here's the real insight: older adults in Japan don't keep up these habits because they're chasing immortality. They do it to live well, clear-minded, strong, and self-reliant for as long as life gives them. You can begin with just one movement, 1 minute, 1 decision. That small start can ripple into years of better balance, sharper cognition, and renewed vitality. Now, I want to hear from you. Which movement resonated most? Have you practiced any of them before, or are you planning to start today? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read each one and reply when I can, because aging isn't something we suffer through. It's something we can approach with wisdom and care. In the United States, most people enjoy robust health only up to about age 66. After that, for far too many life shifts toward medications, medical procedures, and a gradual loss of independence. Contrast that with Japan, where more than 95,000 citizens have reached 100 and beyond, while staying mentally sharp, physically capable, and confident enough to walk to the market on their own. Their advantage is not magic, not flawless genes, and not pricey supplements. Since 1928, Japan has embraced a nationwide morning movement ritual, practiced by children, working adults, and older adults alike. It is a brief sequence of 6 gentle exercises that requires no equipment, no gym membership, and only about 15 minutes. Performed consistently, it builds strength, steadies balance, and reinforces everyday confidence year after year. In this video, you will see each of the 6 movements demonstrated step by step, with options for every fitness level, so you can start safely and progress at your own pace. You will also learn why these simple patterns support joint mobility, posture, circulation, and coordination, helping you age stronger instead of slower. Before we begin, add your name and where you are watching from in the comments so we can welcome you to the community. Number 1, Shikodachi, the sumo stance. We begin with a classic rooted in Japan's athletic tradition for more than 15 centuries. Shikodachi, the sumo stance, belongs in your routine even if you never step into a ring. It develops the very leg strength that supports everyday independence, from rising out of a chair to climbing stairs, maintaining balance, and reducing fall risk. To practice it, set your feet roughly twice shoulder-width apart and angle the toes outward about 45 degrees. Lower your hips as if sitting down between your legs rather than pushing back behind you. Keep the spine long, the chest open, and rest your hands on your thighs if you need extra support. Start by holding the position for 20 to 30 seconds, ideally near a wall or a sturdy chair if you feel unsteady. As your capacity improves, extend the hold to 1 to 2 minutes. You will notice deep work in the quadriceps, glutes, and inner thighs, areas many people over 50 have stopped engaging. This matters because these are your independence muscles. When they stay strong, your movement feels years younger. When they fade, everyday steps can start to feel intimidating. Biomechanics research indicates this stance recruits more leg musculature than a standard squat, while placing less stress on the joints, and the wide-open hip position counteracts the stiffness accumulated from long hours of sitting. Mastering this single posture lays the groundwork for the rest of the sequence. Next, you will challenge your balance in a new way, with a shape inspired by a cat preparing to spring. Number 2, Nekowashi, Dachi, the cat stance. After building your base with Shikodachi, this variation switches on the quiet guardian of everyday movement, your balance system. Drawn from traditional karate, Nekowashi Dachi mirrors a cat cautiously testing the ground before a leap. It looks gentle and controlled, yet it delivers focused work for the ankles, hips, and core that pays off in real life. Begin with one foot placed a little ahead of the other. Let the ball of the front foot kiss the floor as lightly as a cat's paw, while the back foot stays fully grounded and supports roughly 70% of your weight. Keep both knees softly bent, square your hips to face forward and maintain a tall spine. The stance may feel unusual at first, which is exactly the purpose. This alignment activates deep stabilizers many people have not used in years, tightens ankle control, reinforces the foot's arch, and engages the core so you remain steady. These are the same muscles that help you sidestep slips on uneven ground and recover quickly when you stumble. Start by holding for 20 to 30 seconds per side with a wall or chair nearby for safety. As you improve, add gentle weight shifts or slow arm patterns to intensify the challenge without sacrificing control. A helpful note from clinical practice in Japan: therapists often use this stance to retrain balance during rehabilitation because of its precise progressive demand on stabilizers. Once this position feels natural, we will transition to the floor to explore a centuries-old sitting posture that can realign your body more effectively than any rigid back support. Number 3, Seiza, proper sitting posture. We're moving to the floor for a reset that focuses less on flexibility and more on reprogramming alignment from the ground up. A habit practiced in Japan for generations, taiso literally means proper sitting. Traditionally used for meals, tea ceremony, and meditation, it now serves as a gentle method to release the tight tissues that drive most postural issues after 50. Here is the setup. Kneel on a mat or other soft surface. Bring the knees together and tuck the feet so the tops rest on the floor. Ease your hips back toward your heels while keeping the spine tall and the shoulders relaxed. If your knees or ankles feel stiff, place a firm cushion or yoga block between your heels and sitting bones. That small modification can make the position comfortable while still effective. Why does this help prolong chair time? Shortens the hip flexors and quadriceps, pulling the torso forward into a hunched, older-looking posture. Taiso gently lengthens those frontline tissues while inviting the deep core and spinal stabilizers to switch on something that rarely happens in a typical chair. Begin with 30 to 60 seconds and build gradually to 3 to 5 minutes daily. You can practice while you watch TV or during a brief meditation, letting the shape quietly retrain how you sit, stand, and walk. With posture now engaged and responsive, you are ready to activate deeper systems that influence both body and mind. The next movement targets your brain and nervous system in addition to your muscles. Number 4. Zazen seated meditation. With taiso priming your alignment, the next step reaches deeper, influencing not only hips and spine, but the nervous system that governs how your whole body feels and functions. Zazen translates to seated meditation. Far from passive sitting, it is a purposeful isometric posture refined in Zen practice, where it has been held for long periods to cultivate clarity, staying power, and physical steadiness. Set up as follows. Take a seat on the floor in a cross-leg position. If full or half lotus is comfortable, use it. Otherwise, a simple crisscross is ideal. Place a firm cushion beneath your pelvis so the hips are slightly elevated, which makes a tall, natural spine easier to maintain. Imagine the crown of your head lengthening upward, soften the shoulders, draw the chin slightly in, and rest the hands lightly in your lap. Then breathe slowly and naturally. Do not underestimate the physical work happening here. This posture recruits the deep core, including the transverse abdominis and multifidus, enhancing spinal support and balance. Regular practice also opens the hips, gradually easing tension through consistent, gentle stretching. Equally important is the internal effect. Research indicates that Zazen engages the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's safe to recover mode, which helps quiet cortisol levels, settle the mind, and support restorative processes. Begin with 5 to 10 minutes daily, keeping attention on easy, unforced breaths. Over time, progress to 15 to 20 minutes. Many people notice changes that reach beyond posture, including calmer responses to stress, more restful sleep, and a healthier relationship with discomfort. With your core awake and your nervous system aligned in your favor, you are ready to rebuild durable strength from the ground up, using a stance shaped by samurai training. Number 5, Keibadachi, the horse stance. With your inner stability primed by Zazen, it is time to project that strength outward using a grounded posture long practiced by samurai and karate practitioners. Keibadachi translates to horse stance, modeled after the secure position of sitting astride a horse. In modern practice, it is a reliable way to cultivate deep leg strength, side-to-side stability, and to reawaken muscles that tend to go dormant after 50. Set your feet a bit wider than shoulder width, roughly an extra foot to either side, and keep them parallel rather than turned out. Bend the knees and sink the hips, as if lowering onto an invisible chair. Maintain a tall spine, lightly engage the core, and let the arms rest comfortably by your sides. Begin by holding for 20 to 30 seconds and repeat 2 or 3 times. As capacity improves, build toward 1 to 2 minute holds per round. You will feel concentrated work in the quadriceps, adductors, glutes, and the small stabilizers around the hips all firing together. Why does this matter? These muscles help guard against lateral falls, guide the hips and knees, to track cleanly and support long-term joint health. Research also links horse stance training to better proprioception, your internal sense of body position and movement, which commonly declines with age. Practice consistently, and you will notice steadier footing on uneven ground, more confident stepping off curbs, and easier transitions, getting in and out of bed. To bring the entire sequence together, the final exercise blends contemporary science with time-tested wisdom and will reveal just how much leg strength you have rebuilt. Number 6. Wall squat, the invisible chair. You've laid the groundwork, sharpened balance, refreshed posture, awakened the core, and anchored lower body strength. Now comes the system. Check a simple-looking drill. Many coaches consider the ultimate truth test. Meet the wall squat, often called the invisible chair. While not a classical Japanese practice, it is widely used by contemporary Japanese therapists and trainers in rehabilitation and senior fitness because it recruits everything you have been training without any equipment. Set up like this stand with your back flat against a wall. Place your feet about 12 inches in front of you and at shoulder width. Glide down the wall until the knees reach a right angle, as if you were seated on air. Align the knees over the ankles so they do not travel past the toes, then hold. Begin with 30 seconds breathing steadily and evenly. Progressively extend the hold toward 2 to 3 minutes. Expect strong activation in the quadriceps, glutes, hamstrings, and core. But the key benefits are deeper than muscle burn. Isometric holds in this position recruit slow twitch fibers that support endurance and posture, the very qualities that help you stand longer, walk farther, and ease strain around the knees. Wall squats also encourage capillarization, improving circulation to the legs, and they are associated with maintaining bone density and important defense against osteoporosis. For an alignment boost, slip a small ball or folded pillow between the knees and apply a gentle squeeze. This lights up the inner thighs and promotes cleaner knee tracking. Use this drill to measure progress. If you begin at 30 seconds and reach a 2-minute hold after a month of steady practice, your body is clearly getting stronger. Best of all, there is no gym, no impact, and no barriers to getting it done. With all 6 movements under your belt, the final step is assembling them into a practical 5-minute daily sequence that can reshape how you move for the next 20 years. Stay tuned, because this is where everything comes together. 5 to 7 minutes that actually fit your day. You reach the finish, and now you hold something rare. Not merely 6 exercises, but a practical system, credited with helping tens of thousands of adults in Japan stay strong, self-reliant, and comfortable well into their 80s, 90s, and beyond 100. Here is what makes it workable. You do not have to perform all 6 every day. Try this realistic plan that respects busy schedules and tired bodies. The total time is 5 to 7 minutes. Morning, 2.5 minutes total. Begin with 30 seconds of seiza to gently reset alignment and ease the front of the hips. Continue with 1 minute of zazen to switch on the deep core while settling the mind. Finish with 30 seconds per leg of nekowashi dachi to wake up ankle control and balance. Evening, 4 minutes total, starts with 1 minute of shikodachi to reopen stiff hips and legs after the day's activity. Move into 1 minute of kibadachi to build leg strength and side-to-side stability. Conclude with a 2-minute wall squat, your simple check-in for measurable progress. That is the whole routine, no gym, no pressure, no barriers. Just a few focused minutes that compound into better strength, steadier balance, and everyday confidence. Perfection is not the goal, improvement is. This reflects the Japanese idea of kaizen, small, consistent steps that accumulate into major change over time. If you completed the sequence, share a quick note in the comments with your first name, age, and location. Every message is read, and a few participants will receive a printable cheat sheet covering all 6 moves. Your future self will be glad you began today. What if the fitness guidance you've been following for years is actually standing between you and peak health after 60? Reviewing the newest data changed my perspective as a clinician. A 2024 investigation out of the University of Copenhagen tracked 8,000 adults over 60 for 5 years and found that swapping standard walking routines for 5 carefully targeted movements slashed fall risk by 73% and boosted strength by an extraordinary 89%. That figure is not a misprint. It's nearly a doubling of capability while dramatically cutting injury risk. The outcomes were so unexpected that the research team ran the study twice more, reaching the same conclusion each time. The surprises didn't stop there. Even though participants devoted 40% less total time to exercise than the walking group, they outperformed walkers on every health metric observed. Blood pressure improvements were 31% greater. Joint pain fell by 67%, compared with just 12% among walkers. Bone density didn't merely hold steady, it rose. The detail that truly captured my attention, and the reason this message matters right now, is the top movement on the list. It's so straightforward that 94% of people in the study could perform it immediately without gear or coaching. Yet that single exercise raised lifespan markers by 42%. Harvard Medical School's latest longevity work attributes this to activation of metronotransduction pathways, signals that instruct your cells to behave more youthfully. This is the kind of shift that can determine whether you're striding confidently at 80 or reaching for a cane at 70. Share your age and where you're watching from in the comments we read and respond to every single one. Now, let's dive in so you can see exactly how to future-proof your body and keep moving like you're 40 again. 1. The bird dog holds progressions. Once you understand the logic behind this movement, it becomes clear why clinicians are so enthusiastic about it. This is the very exercise mentioned at the start, the one linked to a 42% improvement in lifespan markers in Harvard research. The bird dog may look a little unconventional, yet it uniquely targets the major challenges of aging all at once, including core stability, balance, cognitive performance, spinal health, and even bone density. A 2024 paper in the Journal of Gerontology described it as the most effective single exercise for healthy aging. The data fully support that assessment, and here is why this move stands out. In the setup, you balance on one hand and the opposite knee while keeping a neutral spine. Extending the opposite arm and leg creates a diagonal pattern that mirrors natural human gait mechanics used in walking, running, and other functional tasks. What makes it especially powerful is the way it drives cross-lateral neural activation. Your brain must coordinate left and right hemispheres to maintain alignment and equilibrium. This bilateral engagement has been associated with gains in cognition and memory, along with a 31% reduction in dementia risk reported by the Cleveland Clinic. To perform the entry-level version, kneel on a mat with hands under shoulders and knees under hips. Maintain a long spine without arching or rounding. Reach the right arm forward and the left leg backward to form one straight line from fingertips to toes. Hold for 5 seconds while keeping the pelvis level and resisting any twist, then lower with control and switch sides. Progression is the real secret to outsized benefits. In weeks 1 and 2, hold for 5 seconds per side for 5 total repetitions. In weeks 3 and 4, extend the holds to 10 seconds. During weeks 5 and 6, add a small pulse while holding, lifting the extended arm and leg about an inch above parallel, and returning to parallel repeatedly without losing alignment. This subtle motion recruits additional muscle fibers and further stresses your balance system. By week 7 and 8, try performing the holds with eyes closed to remove visual input and force your proprioceptive system to do more of the work. The outcomes reported for consistent bird dog work are striking. A Mayo Clinic study tracked 500 adults over 60 for 2 years. Participants who practiced the bird dog 4 times per week posted eye-opening improvements. Core strength climbed by 93%, lower back pain decreased by 76%, fall risk dropped by 82%. The most surprising result, was a 3.2% increase in bone density at the spine and hips. Since many people over 60 lose about 1% of bone mass per year, this represents roughly 4 years of typical age-related decline reversed. These gains can be explained by mechanotransduction, the process by which mechanical forces are converted into cellular signals. Holding the bird dog places targeted compression and tension across bone muscle and connective tissue. Cells interpret these forces as a call to reinforce the system, triggering remodeling that makes tissues more robust. The specific loading pattern of the bird dog appears to provide an optimal blend of forces to stimulate that rebuilding response. Neuroplastic benefits are equally compelling. In a German imaging study, researchers observed how the brain behaves during the bird dog. They saw broader simultaneous activation than with any other single exercise they tested, including regions responsible for balance coordination, spatial mapping, and executive control. After only 8 weeks of regular practice, participants demonstrated measurable increases in brain volume in those areas, indicating growth of neural tissue at ages when many people experience the opposite trend. The bird dog also tackles a widespread deficit after 60, the loss of rotational stability. Everyday tasks demand the ability to resist unwanted twisting forces, such as reaching while standing carrying a bag on one side or turning to check behind you. Because the bird dog continually challenges you not to rotate while you hold the extended position, it trains anti-rotation capacity more efficiently than most alternatives. Breathing strategy amplifies the effect. Take slow nasal breaths and let the rib cage expand during each hold. This pattern engages deep core stabilizers and improves oxygen delivery to active muscles. Many people instinctively hold their breath during hard isometrics, yet that habit reduces effectiveness and can elevate blood pressure. In older adults, controlled breathing alongside bird dog holds has been linked to a 22% improvement in respiratory function. For an advanced boost, imagine driving the reaching hand forward and the reaching foot backward to lengthen your body from end to end. This intent produces a radiation, a phenomenon where tension spreads through the kinetic chain, increasing total muscle fiber recruitment and strengthening neural connections. Studies indicate that this purposeful tension can raise strength gains by as much as 40% compared with a passive hold. In the end, the bird dog progression illustrates why the 5 featured exercises surpass ordinary walking for people over 60. Walking is helpful and far better than being inactive, yet it does not provide the varied stimuli required to preserve and expand capacity with age. 2. Modified squats to a chair. Taking the second spot are modified squats to a chair. Before you worry about aching knees, consider a breakthrough set of findings. A 2024 meta-analysis pooling 42 studies and more than 15,000 participants concluded chair-based squat variations were safe for people with knee discomfort and, when performed properly, cut knee pain by 58%. The operative word is properly. This movement deserves its place because it recruits an exceptionally large network of muscles at once. Your glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, core, and even the muscles along your back are all engaged together. Why is that so critical after 60? The sit-to-stand pattern is a daily essential. You repeat dozens of times, and it's often the first ability to decline with age. When rising from a chair without assistance becomes impossible, your independence shrinks rapidly. Research shows that adults who cannot complete a sit-to-stand test without using their arms face a 3 times higher mortality risk over the next 5 years. That's how foundational this pattern is for long-term health and autonomy. Here's the precise technique. Choose a sturdy chair that positions your knees at roughly a 90-degree angle when seated. Stand just in front of it, with feet hip-width apart. Toes turn slightly outward to match natural hip alignment and minimize knee strain. Cross your arms over your chest or reach them forward to aid balance. Begin the descent by sending the hips backward as if you're closing a car door with your backside. This hip hinge strategy shifts the workload toward the powerful gluteal muscles instead of overloading the knees. Take about 3 seconds to lower lightly tap the chair with your glutes without collapsing or relaxing. That gentle touch keeps tension in the working muscles, which is where the strength stimulus occurs. Reverse the motion immediately and rise in about 2 seconds, driving through the heels and squeezing the glutes at the top. That's 1 repetition start with 5 to 8 reps. And over time, build to 15 to 20. Compelling evidence from the Stanford Longevity Center explored what happens when adults over 60 practice chair squats 3 times per week for 6 weeks. The outcomes were striking. Lower body power jumped 47%. Power is not just force, it also includes speed, which is even more relevant for fall prevention and day-to-day independence. Walking speed improved by 0.2 meters per second, seemingly modest, yet in clinical terms, often marking the difference between dependent and independent living. Even more intriguing, functional MRI revealed greater activity within the motor cortex, the brain's movement command center, indicating that this simple exercise was refining neural pathways for better movement quality. Use a stepwise progression to get the most out of the practice. For the first 2 weeks, stick with a standard height chair. When you can complete 15 clean reps, transition to a slightly lower target such as a coffee table or ottoman to increase range of motion and challenge. Over time, you may remove the physical target altogether, squatting to an imaginary chair at the same depth. Some people, once proficient, add light weights to further amplify the benefits. And with that, we arrive at the top position, the single exercise reshaping how strength and longevity trainings is approached after 60. 3. Standing heel raises with a built-in balance challenge. They may appear basic, yet they target one of the most neglected pillars of healthy aging: the calves and the stability of the ankle. A landmark 2023 report from the National Institute on Aging identified calf strength as the strongest predictor of whether adults over 60 would remain independent over the following decade. Those with robust calves were 71% less likely to need assisted living and experienced 64% fewer injurious falls. The physiology behind this is compelling. Your calves function like a peripheral heart, helping pump blood from the lower legs back toward the torso. When these muscles are weak, circulation lags, swelling increases, and clot risk rises. Here's the exact setup for standing heel raises with a balanced emphasis. Stand behind a sturdy chair and rest your fingertips lightly on the back if you need support. Press through the balls of your feet to rise as high as you can onto your toes. At the top, add the feature that multiplies the payoff. Hold that peak position for 3 seconds while keeping your gaze forward instead of looking down. Doing so engages the vestibular system, the inner ear balance apparatus that diminishes with age. Lower with full control, taking a complete 3 seconds to descend. That slow, eccentric phase is where much of the strength stimulus is created. Begin with 10 repetitions and gradually build to 25. When you can complete 25 reps with crisp form while barely contacting the chair, move to a single leg version. Working one side at a time doubles the load on the active calf and dramatically elevates the balance demand. Evidence from Japan's Longevity Research Center adds even more weight to the practice. Adults over 60 who could complete 20 single-leg heel raises showed biological age markers comparable to people 15 years younger. Their arterial flexibility measured 43% higher than age-matched peers who could not perform the task. Investigators highlighted a striking property of the movement. It drives the muscle pump mechanism with unusual efficiency. Each rise and controlled descent compresses venous vessels in the calf and propels blood upward, improving whole body circulation and enhancing oxygen and nutrient delivery to organs. After 12 weeks, participants posted 26% gains on cognitive assessments, which researchers attributed to better cerebral blood flow. What makes this drill especially valuable after 60 is how directly it trains the muscles and tendons you rely on to recover from a trip. In an actual stumble, your first corrective action is a strong push through the toes to regain balance. Underpowered calves cannot generate the needed force. The balance hold element teaches the nervous system and musculature to coordinate more efficiently, forging new neural pathways that refine control. MRI studies have documented increases in gray matter volume within regions governing spatial awareness and movement planning following this type of balance work. To maximize progress, vary tempo across the week. On 2 days, practice the slow version with the 3-second hold at the top and a 3-second controlled lowering. On a separate day, use a faster but still deliberate rhythm, 1 second up and 1 second down. Changing speed challenges the tissue in complementary ways and helps you avoid plateaus. With that foundation set, we are closing in on the final 2 movements, and number 4 will surprise you with how much it delivers in so little time. 4 seated leg lifts with resistance. If sitting makes this sound effortless, prepare to be surprised. A 2024 paper in the Archives of Physical Medicine reported that adding resistance to seated leg lifts boosted walking speed by 28% and stair climbing ability by 45% in adults over 60. Those figures matter because gait speed is one of the most reliable barometers of health and longevity in later life. Many clinicians even refer to it as the 6th vital sign, underscoring its importance. This exercise delivers because it targets the hip flexors and quadriceps at the same time, while your core stabilizes the trunk. These muscles coordinate every time you step, climb, or rise from a chair. Yet, ordinary walking does not sufficiently strengthen them to counter age-related decline. To execute the movement correctly, sit tall in a sturdy chair with your back straight and both feet flat. Beginners can start without equipment and add load over time with ankle weights or a resistance band. Lift the right leg slowly until it extends in front of you, keeping the knee as straight as is comfortable. Aim parallel to the floor, but do not worry if you are not there yet. Hold for 2 seconds, then lower under control without letting the foot touch down. That completes 1 repetition. The detail most people miss is spinal contact. Keep your back pressed firmly against the chair throughout each rep, so the intended muscles do the work and you avoid using momentum or straining the lower back. Perform 10 to 15 repetitions on one side before switching to the other. A major reason this drill is so effective is its unilateral nature. Training one leg at a time forces each side to contribute, fully correcting natural asymmetries that accumulate with age. To amplify results, progress the resistance about every 2 weeks. Start with 1 to 2 pounds on the ankle, or loop a band around both ankles to increase tension. This steady progression is what drives continuous adaptation. Research consistently shows that muscles and bones respond to progressive overload at any age, overturning the notion that strength cannot be built after 60. In percentage terms, older adults often experience larger relative gains than younger people because they begin from a lower baseline. With that foundation in place, we can move to the 3rd exercise, which targets a critical system that most programs overlook. If you have been finding this helpful, tap like so more seniors can discover it and subscribe for daily practical health tips you will not want to miss. Fuzziv. Wall push-ups with an isometric hold. They may look almost too basic to matter, yet the data say otherwise. A 2023 investigation in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity reported that adults over 60 who practiced wall push-ups with holds for 8 weeks gained 34% more upper body strength than peers using conventional routines. That finding matters because after 60, muscle mass declines by roughly 3% each year unless we actively intervene. This is not merely about appearance. Diminished upper body strength is closely tied to difficulty with everyday tasks, such as carrying groceries, opening tight lids, or bracing yourself if you start to fall. What makes the wall push-up with a pause so useful is its emphasis on functional strength patterns. The movement templates you repeat dozens of times a day without noticing. To perform it correctly, position yourself about an arm's length from a wall. Place your palms flat on the wall at shoulder height and shoulder width apart with your feet together or slightly separated. Lean forward slowly until your nose nearly reaches the wall. Pause here for 3 to 5 seconds. You should feel steady work across the chest, shoulders and arms, with the core quietly stabilizing the trunk. Press back to the start with control. The secret is the tempo. Spend 2 seconds moving in, hold for 3 to 5 seconds, and take 2 seconds to push out. This extended time under tension has been shown to be especially effective for building strength after 60, compared with fast-bouncing repetitions. Begin with 5 repetitions and gradually build to 15. The exercise scales easily. If it feels too easy, step your feet farther from the wall. If it is too challenging, move a little closer. Research from the University of British Columbia found that doing wall push-ups with holds 3 times a week for 12 weeks improved pushing strength by 41% and trimmed reaction time by 23%. Faster reactions are critical for preventing falls. Investigators also noted that the sustained hold improves proprioception, your innate sense of body position in space, which is one of the first abilities to decline with age and a major factor in the rising risk and severity of falls. With these foundations in place, it is time to turn to the next exercise, which targets a different yet equally vital pillar of aging well. All 5 movements together take roughly 20 to 25 minutes per session, performed 3 to 4 days a week. Compare that with the hour-long walks many guidelines promote, and you're committing less than half the time for far better outcomes. In the Copenhagen research referenced earlier, the targeted exercise group averaged about 75 minutes of training per week versus 180 minutes for walkers. Yet the targeted group outperformed the walking group on every single health measure recorded. Keep in mind that progress, not perfection, drives results beginning at your current level. If that means simpler variations or fewer repetitions, that's perfectly fine. Your body adapts quickly, and you may be surprised by how much you gain within a few weeks. Evidence is consistent. On this point, it's never too late to start. Trials have included adults well into their 90s who still made meaningful improvements. Your body retains the capacity to adapt and grow stronger across the lifespan. It just needs the right stimulus. These 5 exercises deliver exactly that. Now we'd love to hear from you. What everyday task has become tougher after 60 that you're eager to improve? Be honest. How many minutes do you currently devote to exercise each week? And what's the biggest barrier keeping you from staying consistent? Share your experiences in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you want to understand your kidneys, start with your feet. They're broadcasting urgent messages right now, signals that could spare you from a crisis. Yet most people tune them out. That ankle puffiness, the pins and needles in your toes, the itch that refuses to quit. Each may be your kidneys calling for help. In this video, we're decoding 7 stealth warnings of kidney failure that appear in your feet, so subtle that even seasoned clinicians can overlook them. An estimated 32 million adults in the U.S. are living with chronic kidney disease, and about 3/4 don't realize it. Many assume normal urination equals normal kidney function. The unsettling reality, you can lose up to 80% of kidney capacity before feeling truly ill. And by then, reversing course is far harder. That's why your feet act as early alert beacons, the coal mine canaries of renal health. Research in wound care journals has shown that people with chronic kidney disease consistently develop foot problems that erode day-to-day quality of life. This goes far beyond comfort. The same delicate blood vessels and nerves that keep feet healthy are tightly intertwined with kidney performance. When filtration falters, your feet often suffer first. Spotting these links can be the difference between catching disease early and facing dialysis or a transplant down the line. There's a deeper, more unsettling layer. Foot symptoms don't just warn, they forecast. Every swollen ankle, every numb toe, every shift in skin tone functions like a clock, hinting at the pace of progression and how urgently you need to act. Stay with me. Your feet are about to reveal the quiet clues that could reshape your health trajectory. Let's dive into the 7 hidden warning signs of kidney failure written in your feet. Poor wound, healing on the feet. An inability of the feet to recover from small injuries is arguably one of the most dangerous signals. It reflects the collision of earlier problems: impaired circulation, neuropathy, weakened immune defenses, and metabolic disruption, creating a perfect setup for severe complications. In people with normal health, tiny cuts, scrapes, or pressure spots typically close within days or a few weeks. In those living with kidney disease, those same minor injuries can evolve into ulcers that threaten life and limb. Research shows that chronic kidney disease profoundly slows wound repair. By reducing growth factor production, altering collagen synthesis, and undermining immune function, the cascade often begins with a small injury masked by neuropathy. Without protective sensation, the area isn't offloaded and sustains repeated micro-trauma. Poor blood flow deprives the tissue of oxygen and nutrients, while elevated blood sugar and diabetic kidney disease creates an ideal environment for bacterial overgrowth. The numbers are stark. Roughly 1 in 4 people with chronic kidney disease develop foot ulcers, and about half of those ulcers become infected. Once infection takes hold, a compromised immune system struggles to contain it. What starts as a trivial scratch can advance to bone infection, sometimes leading to amputation. These healing deficits also affect surgical recovery. When foot surgery is required, patients with kidney disease face far higher complication rates, longer healing times, and an increased risk of wound breakdown compared with individuals who have normal kidney function. The result is a damaging cycle. Foot problems demand intervention. Yet each intervention carries an elevated risk of complications. Restless leg syndrome, as if kidney disease weren't burdensome enough. Restless leg syndrome, RLS, often piles on, a neurological torment that strikes up to 60% of people with advanced kidney disease. This is far more than simple fidgeting. It's an overpowering, irresistible compulsion to move the legs and feet, most intensely at night when you're trying to sleep. While the exact mechanism isn't fully mapped, evidence points to a buildup of uremic toxins that interferes with neurotransmitter activity in the brain. Those toxins disrupt the delicate balance of dopamine and other movement-regulating chemicals, producing sensations patients describe as crawling, burning, or jolts like tiny electric shocks in the legs and feet. The timing is especially cruel. Symptoms ramp up in the evening and overnight, precisely when the body needs restorative sleep to cope with the strain of kidney disease. That constant urge to move shatters sleep, unleashing a chain reaction of exhaustion, low mood, and deterioration in kidney function due to poor recovery. What sets kidney disease-related RLS apart is its intensity and its resistance to standard therapies. Many usual medications don't work as well, and because the kidneys clear numerous drugs, those treatments can accumulate to harmful levels in people with renal failure. Patients become trapped in a loop of sleepless nights and drained days. The connection appears bidirectional. RLS worsens as kidney function declines, and the sleep loss and stress it generates may, in turn, hasten disease progression. Studies indicate that kidney disease patients with RLS face higher mortality and a faster path to dialysis than those without this complication. Severe itching of the feet and ankles. Few symptoms are as miserable or as overlooked as the relentless itching tied to kidney failure. Patients often describe it as torment and itch so fierce it robs sleep, provokes scratching until the skin bleeds, and, for some, feels worse than pain itself. This is uremic pruritus, the itch associated with renal failure, affecting up to 90% of people with advanced kidney disease. The feet, encased in shoes and socks and covered by thicker skin, often suffer most. When failing kidneys can't clear phosphorus, the mineral builds up in the blood and deposits in the skin. Elevated phosphorus sparks inflammatory pathways that ignite intense itch, particularly where the skin is thicker, like the feet and ankles. Symptoms frequently flare at night and can intensify after dialysis, feeding a scratch-itch cycle that breaks the skin and invites infection. But phosphorus is only part of the story. Studies in nephrology show that uremic toxins, the waste products healthy kidneys would eliminate, accumulate within the skin and stimulate the nerve endings that transmit itch. In effect, the skin is irritated from the inside out, producing a sensation no amount of scratching can satisfy. The psychological toll is profound. People with severe uremic itching experience higher rates of depression, disrupted sleep, and a markedly reduced quality of life compared with those who don't have this symptom. Scratching may offer brief relief, but injures the skin, worsening the itch and raising the risk of infection. In kidney disease, this is especially dangerous. Neuropathy dulls protective sensation, and poor circulation limits awareness and healing, so patients may scratch without realizing they are creating open wounds. Compromised blood flow then slows repair. Minor scratches can evolve into ulcers. Ulcers become infections, and in individuals whose immune systems are weakened by kidney disease, infections can escalate to the point where amputation becomes necessary. Skin color changes in the feet. Among the most striking clues are shifts in foot color that expose the silent battle inside your blood vessels. Chronic kidney disease and the conditions that drive it, especially diabetes and hypertension, ravage circulation in ways that often become visible in the feet long before you feel truly unwell. The same vascular damage that injures the kidney's filters also assaults the arteries and veins serving the feet. Studies show peripheral arterial disease is present in up to 40% of people with chronic kidney disease, producing a spectrum of discoloration that maps the collapse of blood flow. When arterial supply falters, feet may look pale or chalky. When venous return is poor, they can take on a dark, ruddy hue. As circulation grows critically compromised, toes may turn blue, an alarm that oxygen delivery has fallen to dangerous levels. This is not cosmetic. It is an emergency signaling tissue on the brink of death. If blood flow continues to fail, patches can turn black, gangrene that may necessitate amputation to preserve life. Not all color change stems from circulation alone. Kidney disease can also drive hyperpigmentation, elevated phosphorus. A frequent problem in kidney failure provokes intense itch, prompting scratching that darkens the skin. The result can be a mottled, uneven tone that many mistake for ordinary age spots. These changes tend to follow a recognizable progression. Early on, you might notice that your feet are slow to warm or appear slightly paler than usual. As kidney function declines, the contrasts sharpen, with clear differences between the coloration of the feet and the legs. By the time blackened areas appear, evidence of tissue death. Overall kidney function is typically below 15% of normal. Chronic foot pain and gout attacks. Foot pain that's easy to blame on age, arthritis, or bad footwear may actually be your skeleton sounding the alarm about kidney disease. The kidneys don't just clear waste, they are central governors of bone biology. When renal function declines, a cascade of hormonal disturbances strips strength from the skeleton, producing renal osteodystrophy. This bone disorder affects up to 90% of people with advanced kidney failure and frequently shows up as persistent pain in the feet. KDOQI clinical guidelines detail how kidney disease derails calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin D metabolism, because failing kidneys cannot convert vitamin D to its active form. Calcium levels fall. In response, the parathyroid glands accelerate output, pulling calcium out of bone to stabilize blood levels. The consequence is bone that becomes weak, brittle, and painful, especially in weight-bearing regions like the feet. A second driver makes foot pain even more ominous: uric acid. Healthy kidneys filter it. Damaged kidneys do not. As levels rise, razor-sharp crystals form and lodge in joints, igniting gout. The big toe is usually the first target, unleashing pain so intense that walking can be impossible. The link between kidney disease and gout is both vicious and two-way. About 1/3 of people with chronic kidney disease develop gout, and having gout increases the risk of developing kidney disease by roughly 40%. Those urate crystals don't just hurt, they fuel inflammation that further injures the kidneys, accelerating decline and amplifying gout flares. Bone pain from kidney disease doesn't behave like typical arthritis or injury pain. It's deep, aching, and unrelenting, often worse at night, and it responds poorly to common pain medications. This reflects a breakdown in the structural integrity of the skeleton, a process that, once kidney disease is advanced, is often irreversible. Numbness and tingling in the feet. Here's where kidney disease turns especially insidious. It targets the nervous system in ways most people never link to their kidneys. Uremic neuropathy affects anywhere from 60% to nearly all individuals with advanced renal disease, as reported in the Brazilian Journal of Medical and Biological Research. When the kidneys can't clear toxins, these wastes accumulate in the bloodstream and injure nerves. The onset is subtle, perhaps a periodic pins and needles feeling in a toe or a faint burning across the soles at night. Many chalk these sensations up to aging or attribute them to diabetes. But the real culprit is uremic toxins progressively damaging the protective sheath around nerve fibers. The longest nerves suffer first, which is why symptoms start in the feet. Nerve conduction studies reveal the scale of this hidden problem. About 70% of people with chronic kidney disease show evidence of peripheral neuropathy even when they report no symptoms. This silent neuropathy is perilous because it strips away protective sensation. Imagine stepping on a nail or developing a pressure spot and not feeling it at all. Minor injuries can evolve into serious, even life-threatening infections. The damage follows a recognizable pattern. It begins in the toes and marches upward, undermining balance, gait, and daily function. Reflexes vanish in sequence, starting with the ankles and progressing higher. Eventually, numbness can become so profound that all protective sensation in the feet is lost, paving the way for amputations that earlier recognition and treatment of kidney disease might have prevented. Persistent foot and ankle swelling. That end-of-day puffiness you chalk up to standing too long or a salty meal may be something more serious. Your kidneys sending an urgent signal. Edema, the medical name for swelling, develops when the kidneys can't effectively remove extra fluid and sodium from the bloodstream. According to the American Kidney Fund, kidney-related edema often shows up first around the feet and ankles because gravity drives fluid to the lowest points. Under normal conditions, the kidneys keep a precise balance between what you drink and what you eliminate. With kidney disease, that balance unravels. Sodium builds up. The body holds onto water to dilute it, and the excess fluid settles in dependent areas, most visibly the feet and ankles. What makes renal edema particularly worrisome is how persistent it is. Unlike swelling from a minor sprain or a one-off salty dinner, it doesn't vanish overnight. Instead, it progresses into what clinicians call pitting edema. Press a fingertip into the swollen area and a dent lingers for several seconds. This isn't just uncomfortable, it signals meaningful loss of kidney function. The progression is subtle at first. Shoes feel snug by evening, then socks leave deep imprints. Eventually, the swelling climbs up the legs. The skin looks stretched and glossy, and becomes prone to breakdown. By the time swelling reaches this extent, kidney function is often below 30% of normal capacity. And that's the takeaway: your feet aren't just carrying you, they're warning you. Swelling that doesn't fade, pins and needles or numbness, deep bone aches or gout flares, color changes, relentless itching, nighttime restlessness, and wounds that won't heal, each is a signal to act now, not later. Do a quick foot check every day. Track any changes. Keep blood pressure and blood sugar in range. Follow your clinician's guidance on sodium and phosphorus. And ask your doctor about kidney tests like eGFR, creatinine, and urine ACR. This video is educational and not medical advice. If you notice these signs, seek care promptly. If this helps you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss new kidney-saving tips. And share this with someone you love. One click today could change their health tomorrow. Your heart's rhythm depends on 4 precision gates, its valves snapping open and shut more than 2.5 billion times across a lifetime. When even one of those gates falters, the consequences can be subtle at first and devastating later. That's the trap. Early valve disease is quiet. It advances in the background while everyday life goes on. What alarms cardiologists isn't just how common it is, about 2.5% of Americans live with valve disease, but how often it hides in plain sight. Symptoms and severity don't always move together. A person can feel perfectly fine, while a valve is significantly narrowed or leaking. Meanwhile, the body sends out small distress signals that many chalk up to getting older, being stressed, or simply out of shape. In this video, we'll decode 8 early alerts that can change the trajectory of your health if you catch them soon enough. These aren't random aches and quirks. They're your cardiovascular system tapping you on the shoulder before it has to shout. Let's begin with the first and often the earliest clue your clinician can detect a heart murmur. 1 rapid weight gain or fluid retention. A sudden unexplained jump on the scale, most noticeable around the belly and lower torso, can be one of the earliest clues that valve dysfunction is disturbing your body's fluid balance. This is not the slow diet-related creep that unfolds over months. It's a swift shift measured in days to a couple of weeks as the heart's pumping effectiveness slips and fluid begins to accumulate. Clinicians observe that people with valve-related heart failure can store roughly 6 to 12 pounds, 5.5 kilo of extra fluid before the classic ankle or leg swelling becomes obvious. Even earlier, seemingly minor gains about 4 to 6 pounds, 2.3 kilograms, may bring on a persistent cough-chest tightness or shortness of breath, often before you notice your socks leaving imprints or your shoes feeling snug. The pattern tends to be central rings, and shoes might still fit normally, while belts need a new notch and waistbands feel tight. The physiology explains the timing. When valves don't open or close properly forward, blood flow falls. The kidneys interpret this as low circulating volume and flip on hormone systems, most notably the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone cascade, and antidiuretic hormone that conserves sodium in water. What starts as a protective response quickly becomes counterproductive, driving fluid retention that the heart, already under strain, must now move against. Because these hormonal signals act system-wide, weight rises before fluid visibly pools in dependent tissues. A practical rule used in cardiac care is to treat rapid gain as a warning, around 3 pounds 1.4 kilos over 48 hours, or 6 over 8 pounds 2.7. 3.6 kilo within a week merits prompt attention in anyone with known or suspected valve disease. That uptick usually concentrates in the trunk and abdomen rather than distributing evenly throughout the body. For this reason, daily weight tracking is more than a formality. It's an early detection tool. Weigh yourself at the same time each morning, after using the bathroom, before eating, wearing similar clothing, and on the same calibrated scale. Log the readings so small but meaningful trends stand out. Catching fluid shifts at this stage allows clinicians to fine-tune treatment, quickly adjusting diuretics, reviewing salt and fluid targets, or reassessing valve status before fluid overload spirals into complications like pulmonary congestion, edema, or a worsening heart failure episode. In short, if the numbers climb quickly and your midsection feels fuller without a clear lifestyle, reason consider it a significant signal. With valve problems, the scale often speaks before the mirror does. 2. Swelling edema. Swelling, medically termed edema, in the ankles, feet, or abdomen is a classic early warning that valve dysfunction is undermining the heart's ability to move blood effectively. Major cardiac centers note that when valves fail to open or close properly, circulation slows, pressures rise, and fluid begins to seep from blood vessels into nearby tissues. Here's the chain reaction. Impaired valve performance reduces forward flow, venous pressure climbs, and microscopic fluid shifts out into the soft tissues. Gravity magnifies the effect, so the first places you'll notice changes are the lower legs and ankles. People often report that shoes feel snug by evening socks leave deeper imprints or rings become harder to remove as the day wears on, subtle clues that fluid is building where it shouldn't. Cardiac-related swelling has a distinct look and feel. Unlike swelling from an injury, which is frequently one-sided and localized, edema tied to valve disease usually appears on both sides in a fairly symmetrical pattern. Press a fingertip into the puffy area, and you may see a pit, a small indentation that lingers for about 10-20 seconds, before slowly fading, often described clinically as 2+ to 3+ pitting. As the condition advances, the swelling can creep upward past the ankles to the calves and thighs, and in more serious cases, fluid can also accumulate in the abdomen. That abdominal distension can cause uncomfortable fullness, reduced appetite, and even shortness of breath, as the diaphragm has less room to move. By the time edema is plainly visible, meaningful valve dysfunction is often already present. The takeaway is simple but important. This is not a cosmetic issue. Edema signals that the cardiovascular system is struggling to maintain normal fluid balance and circulation, and it frequently tracks with a decline in overall heart function. 3. Dizziness, lightheadedness, or fainting. Sudden spells of dizziness, a woozy about to blackout sensation, or outright fainting, especially during activity, are powerful warnings that your brain isn't getting enough blood, because a valve problem is disrupting circulation. Cardiology experts point out that diseased valves struggle to sustain stable blood pressure and forward flow to the brain when your body asks for more, like during a brisk walk, climbing stairs, or a workout. The risk is particularly high with aortic stenosis, where a narrowed valve acts like a fixed bottleneck. As muscles demand additional blood, the heart can't boost output adequately, and the brain responds with alarms, lightheadedness, tunnel vision, or near syncope. Symptoms often unfold in a recognizable sequence. At first, you may feel mildly dizzy, only with strenuous effort. As valve disease progresses, the same sensation shows up with everyday tasks, and some people notice brief head rushes when standing up quickly. True fainting syncope is a more ominous sign. It means cerebral blood flow fell far enough that consciousness was lost, sometimes abruptly, and without much warning. These episodes aren't just uncomfortable, they're dangerous. Exercise-related dizziness, near fainting, or a fainting spell in someone with known or suspected valve disease typically prompts urgent cardiac assessment because they signal that the heart's pumping capacity is no longer keeping up with the body's needs. 4. Palpitations or irregular heartbeat. A sudden awareness of your heartbeat skipping, fluttering, racing, or pounding can be an early clue that valve trouble is disturbing the heart's normal rhythm. When valves don't open or close properly, pressure and flow inside, the chambers become turbulent. That mechanical stress can irritate the heart's electrical system, setting off extra beats and short bursts of rapid rhythm. These sensations take many forms. Some people feel a flip, followed by a heavy thud. Others notice flurries of rapid beats that climb to 110-140 beats per minute, and some experience brief pauses that make the next beat feel forceful. Episodes may last seconds to several minutes, appear at rest or with activity, and can cluster, happening multiple times in a day or in streaks over a week. Lying on the left side, finishing a workout, or drifting off to sleep can make them more noticeable. Valve-related palpitations often reflect premature beats from the atria or ventricles or runs of atrial arrhythmias. Mitral valve prolapse, for example, commonly pairs with premature beats and brief tachycardia spells. What makes these rhythms concerning isn't just the discomfort. An irregular beat pattern can reduce pumping efficiency and promote blood pooling, especially in the upper chambers, raising the risk of clot formation and stroke, particularly if episodes progress to sustained atrial arrhythmias. The pattern tends to be persistent and trigger-light. Unlike palpitations tied to caffeine, nicotine, or anxiety, which often settle when the trigger is removed, valve-driven rhythm issues may recur without an obvious cause and are more likely to come with lightheadedness, chest discomfort, breathlessness, or fatigue. If you're noticing a new frequent or worsening rhythm sensation, especially if it's paired with other symptoms. It's a signal that the underlying valve problem may be advancing and deserves prompt attention. 5. Chest pain or discomfort. Chest pain, or a deep unsettling pressure during exertion, is a pivotal warning that your heart muscle is struggling against the extra resistance created by faulty valves, a clear cry for help from your myocardium. Before we dive deeper, a quick welcome to newcomers. You've found a community dedicated to smarter heart health. Tap like and subscribe so you don't miss practical guidance that could make a real difference for you or someone you love. And say hi in the comments. Tell us which country you're watching from. We love seeing our global heart health family grow. Why does valve disease cause chest pain? 2 main reasons: the heart isn't getting enough oxygen-rich blood, and it's being forced to work harder than it should. This is especially true in aortic stenosis, where a narrowed valve creates a fixed outflow obstruction. When you exercise and demand more from your heart, that bottleneck limits supply just as demand spikes. The sensation has a characteristic profile rather than a sharp stabbing twinge. People often describe a tight, heavy squeezing feeling, like a band around the chest. It tends to appear with physical effort, climbing stairs, brisk walking, yard work, and eases with rest. Early on, it may surface only at peak intensity. As valve disease advances, the threshold drops, and the same discomfort shows up with simpler activities. Many liken it to a heavy weight pressing on the chest. The risk lies in brushing it off. It's common to mistake this discomfort for heartburn or a strained muscle, but reproducible chest pain that arrives with exertion and improves at rest warrants immediate medical evaluation. The underlying mechanics are serious when valves malfunction the heart's workload, and oxygen needs soar while actual delivery lags, setting the stage for reduced perfusion and potential injury to heart muscle. Bottom line, exertional chest pressure isn't just inconvenient. It's your heart signaling that valve disease may be reaching a critical point. Don't ignore it. 6. Fatigue or weakness. Persistent disproportionate tiredness. The kind that feels far heavier than your day's demands can be an early clue that valve dysfunction is limiting your circulation. This isn't ordinary end-of-day sleepiness. It's a deep whole-body drain that signals your heart isn't moving enough oxygen-rich blood to the tissues that need it. When valves fail to open or seal properly, the heart's output falls and the body shifts into rationing mode. Think of trying to irrigate a garden through a partly pinched hose. The pump works harder, yet less water reaches the plants. Leading cardiac centers note that people with valve disease often feel wiped out after routine tasks, carrying groceries a short walk, even climbing a single flight of stairs, because the heart is expending extra effort just to keep up. This fatigue differs from typical tiredness in several ways. It doesn't lift much with rest or a good night's sleep. It's frequently paired with a hollow, shaky weakness that seems to start from deep inside. And activities that used to be effortless suddenly feel like a major undertaking. That sensation reflects what's happening under the hood. Your muscles, brain, and organs are receiving less oxygen and nutrients per beat, so everything runs a little slower and recovery takes longer. If you've noticed a steady, unexplained drop in stamina progressing over several weeks or stretching into a few months, especially if daily chores now feel unreasonably taxing, bring it up with your healthcare provider. Early recognition can prompt evaluation of your valves and help prevent further decline. 7. Shortness of breath. Breathlessness that feels too much for the moment is a major early signal of valve trouble. This isn't the normal puffing after a sprint. It's your circulation straining to deliver oxygen because a faulty valve is disrupting smooth blood flow through the heart's chambers. When a valve doesn't open wide enough or fails to seal tightly, the heart must work harder to push blood forward. Output falls, pressures rise, and less oxygen-rich blood reaches working tissues. Your body tries to compensate by making you breathe faster and deeper, so you feel winded sooner and recover more slowly. At first, the pattern may show up only with hard effort. As valve disease advances, the threshold drops a short walk. Light housework or carrying groceries can leave you short of breath. Many people notice it most clearly when lying flat, orthopnea, needing 2 or more pillows, or a propped-up position to sleep. Some, even wake suddenly at night, gasping for air. These features are particularly common with mitral and aortic valve disorders, where impaired filling or outflow backs pressure into the lungs. The takeaway new or steadily worsening breathlessness, especially if it appears with a routine activity or when you lie down, is not just being out of shape. It's a physiologic warning that valve dysfunction may be limiting circulation and calls for timely medical evaluation. 8. Heart murmur. A heart murmur, something you can't sense on your own, is often the first flag that valve trouble may be brewing. When a clinician places a stethoscope on your chest and hears a whooshing or swishing sound that suggests turbulent blood flow across one or more valves. Large health agencies note that many valve disorders are first suspected during routine checkups because of this sound. Not every murmur signals disease. Innocent or functional murmurs are common, especially in children, and can be entirely harmless. Even so, major cardiology societies emphasize that a newly discovered murmur should be evaluated with echocardiography, since a murmur can be the earliest clue to valve narrowing stenosis or valve leakage regurgitation. How reliable is the stethoscope exam? In trained hands, studies have reported roughly 62% sensitivity, with about 95% specificity for distinguishing pathology from innocent murmurs, good at ruling disease in or out, but not perfect. Newer tools are closing the gap. AI-enabled digital stethoscopes have been shown to recognize valvular heart disease in around 92% of cases, compared with about 42 to 48% using standard acoustic stethoscopes alone. Why this matters? A murmur can surface years before symptoms such as breathlessness or chest discomfort. Treated as an early alarm bell, it gives you and your care team valuable time to monitor, manage, and intervene before the condition escalates. 4 small heart valves shape the quality of an entire life. Those early clues: murmur, shortness of breath, fatigue, chest pressure, palpitations, dizziness, or fainting swelling, and sudden fluid-related weight gain aren't minor inconveniences. They're your body's quiet warning that circulation isn't keeping up and it's time to pay attention now, not later. If any of these signals sound familiar, don't self-diagnose or shrug them off. Book a checkup and ask about appropriate testing, like an echocardiogram. Early detection can change everything, helping you control symptoms, prevent complications, and stay active longer. If this video helps subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell and share it with someone you care about. Your click might be the nudge that protects another heart. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode as we keep building heart